Hi, it's Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics. I have a beautiful project for you today called the Spectrum Quilts. I'll step out of the way so you can just take it all in. It's beautiful. This is the palette from Ginny Beyer. It's the full 150 fabrics that Ginny Beyer has created for RJR Fabrics, and it's beautiful. And it starts off with this incredible oversized, supersized charm pack. This is a free download. Thank you, RJR, for allowing us to bring this to our customers, to be able to teach that today and have that available as a download on our website. We really appreciate our partnership with you. And it's a beautiful pattern. We've made the quilt based on the pattern, which is full color, and they've provided really wonderful references, which I'll be going into shortly, so that you can too download this, make the project. Obviously, it's fantastic, and Ginny Beyer's fabrics kits, of course, are available for this. Or you might want to use something from your own collection if you have a nice depth and breadth of color, or you'll be able to create the same effect. Downloads are available in the link below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on our website, you can also go to the Shabby Fabrics homepage at the very bottom. There's a link that says free downloads. Click there. You're looking for the Spectrum Quilt. Again, this is brought to us by Ginny Beyer and RJR Fabrics, and again, we're very grateful for letting us use that pattern. Now, part of the free download, besides the pattern, and this is one of my favorite parts, is you get the guide that shows you all 150 SKUs that are included in the charm pack here. So this project is very dependent on you keeping this in order. Well, what happens if it got out of order? What I love about that is not to worry, because you have your reference guide here, and it's showing you exactly which fabric is considered which number in the stack. This number here starts with number 1 and ends with number 150. So I'm just going to show you the highlights of how easy this quilt comes together, and you'll be amazed at how fun and how fast that quilt can happen. And we did ours in a day. So definitely it can be done in one day because of the convenience of the 5-inch squares. And that's why I think I loved so much about this project, is it was really literally just start sewing. I didn't have to cut all these squares. And they have a nice pinked edge. It's not a deep pink edge, but it's just enough to reduce fraying, which I very much appreciate. So let's just break down the quilt real fast. Each row is basically, if you look at this side of the quilt and that side of the quilt, it's the same. So we build this spectrum of color from the outside and reach to the middle. Each row is the same way. That is these two oranges as to here. And we build that same spectrum, and it has a crescendo kind of in the middle. So the first thing you'll start with is actually just that center rectangle. And what I love about this pattern is it literally walks you through building the quilt from the stack that you've given. And you literally build it from the first fabric down to the 150th fabric. And again, if those get out of order, maybe you have a little one come into your sewing room and mess up all your squares, don't worry. You have your guide to set everything back in the proper order so that you can be successful with the project if you're using the Ginny Beyer palette charm pack. Once you get your centerpiece, these are 5-inch squares. Of course, that's just cut in half, 2.5 by 5. That'll be in here. This is how simple this is. The pattern will guide you into taking the first 2 fabrics off your stack and literally just pinning them together and sewing a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're going to go ahead and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance here and here. So we're going to go to the Bernina today. This is the 770 Quilters Edition I'm working on. I have my quilting foot on, or my 1/4 inch presser foot, I should say, not a quilting foot. So let's just get that in there. All right, and let's just, there we go. I want to be right on that 1/4 inch. I love this feature of the Bernina, how I can just cut and it will just cut that for me naturally. I don't have to worry about the bobbin thread, stays in the bobbin. It's wonderful. This is new and exciting for me, big time, to be able to use a machine of this caliber. Again, this is a new thing for us here at Shabby Fabrics to be sewing with these amazing machines. We are not able to sell you a Bernina. I want to encourage you, if you do fall in love with the Bernina, as I'm starting to fall very much in love with these Berninas and all the things they can do, look for to purchase a Bernina from your local dealer. They're there to sell you the machine, service the machine, and teach you how to use it. And there's so much more. I'm taking classes, figuring out more of the amazing features of the Swiss engineered sewing machine, and obviously the warranty is unreal. So if you're thinking about a sewing machine, I'd love to encourage you to consider a Bernina because they're amazing. And I'm learning more things every day. Okay, back to this project. I'm using a 2.5 by 6.5 inch Shabby Fabrics Creative Grid ruler. Thank you, Creative Grid, for putting our name on that ruler. I love this ruler because I'm going to cut my charm square exactly in half, so I know all I have to do is set my ruler literally to the very edge of that, and of course that's going all the way to the edge of that pinked. Let me just measure this for you so you're seeing what I'm talking about. This is 5 inches, including that pinked edge. Sometimes people have asked us, is that 5 inches on the inside of the pinked edge? No, it's 5 inches to the outside of the pinked edge. As you can see, that's the 5 from here to here is 5. So we'll be using all of that. Simply put that 2.5 by 6.5 inch ruler there, and you'll be cutting that in half. Isn't that so cool? And now I have my 2 halves. So let's go ahead and go to our awesome Panasonic. I love that this is cordless. It makes it so much easier. I don't have, sometimes when I'm quilting and I'm kind of dragging the iron and I've got the cord, I'm knocking stuff off the table kind of left and right. I'm klutzy anyway sometimes, and that just kind of adds to it to have the cord in the way. So I love this cordless Panasonic iron for that very reason. So I've got that, and see how you're building both ends of each row basically at the same time. There we go. And that's how you will continue building the units. So I've got one out here. Let's see, what row is that? That row, it's actually down here. You can't quite see it, but you can see what I'm talking about, how you've got the 2 ends. Now, something we learned along the way. Obviously, you're going to continue and you're going to make your rows, right? You're going to do what we just did over and over again. It's going to guide you into which fabrics are in which row, and you're going to sew those together. What we figured out was, initially, we just put a sashing strip underneath the row, and we figured out that not all of our rows were exactly the same length. So we had a little bit of an accordion effect going. For that reason, we have discovered that in order for the quilt to hang straight and be as square as it can be, we went ahead and cut our sashing strips to 50.5 inches for each of the sashing strips, and then you make your pieced strip fit that. That's how you make sure that the quilt will be hanging as vertical and as square as it can be. So that was just something that we discovered along the way through finding out our rows weren't all exactly 50.5 inches long. Some are a little bit shorter, some are slightly longer. And of course, it's just human error. It just happens. So I definitely wanted to mention that. When we went to assemble the quilt, we went ahead and put this together, and this together first to make sure that our rows were all 50.5 before we just started sewing this to this to this to this. So that was something else. Let me just check my notes. I know the ladies definitely wanted me to mention some things to you about this project. Oh yes, about the, once you have all of this together, you'll sew your inner border here. Once you have your inner border on, before you sew on your outer border, one of the things that we felt was helpful and I'll go ahead and press this. This is kind of like an accent strip. It's loose. I kind of like that. See how that's there? It was just another way to bring back some color. I thought it was a really cool accent. Of course, we'll just iron that in half all the way down. But what I want to suggest that's something that works well for me, and I think worked well for the ladies too, is once you have your inner border on, I believe the instructions are having you kind of pin this in place and then put the outer border on top of that as well and sew that as a unit. I know sometimes things can kind of wiggle, so I recommend that once you have your inner border on, and before you don't just pin that, you might run a basting stitch, maybe an 1/8 inch basting stitch to just baste that onto your inner border. You know it's there, it's in position, and then you can put the outer border right sides together and sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance. So that way that little accent strip doesn't kind of start wiggling around and potentially come out of alignment with where you want it to be. So this is a super easy one-day project. Again, thank you RJR Fabrics. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. We'll be bringing you lots more projects from RJR and of course other projects as well.